Let me officially welcome one of the biggest influences ever in my life, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, and his longtime friend and head of Rich Dad at Franchise Development, Kelly Ritchie. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a very nice introduction, Mike. Thank you.
Hey, I couldn't thank you enough, Robert, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. So let's just jump in real quick. And I watched that clip of you on CNN again last night when you predicted the crash of Lehman and Goldman Sachs, and most people thought you were nuts. And I'd have to say, besides Ron Paul out there, I'm sitting here watching the politicians and the news every day and the debates, and it seems to me like even the people at our highest levels in government have no idea what's going on, despite the fact that guys like Ron and yourself have been talking about this for years now.
That's correct. And even in 2005, I was on KTLA television, and they were asking me what I thought about the real estate boom, and I said it'll turn into the biggest mortgage disaster the world has ever seen. And that was in 2005, and then, as you know, 2007, the subprime mess emerged in August of 2007. So, like you're talking about, the future is predictable, and if you're not ahead of because the future is changing rapidly, and if you're not ahead of the change, you become a victim of it, as many people are. So I think that's the main reason I'm doing this course, is because for a few people, it is better to know what's going to happen than to wonder what happened.
Yeah, I was at your Psychology of Winners event a couple of months ago in Phoenix, and there's something that you said that really, it was a huge light bulb for me on a grand scale, and it was very basic, and I guess I should have known it, but it really stuck out, and it was the fact that you made it a point of saying that, look, rich people make money when the market is up, and rich people make money when the market goes down. It doesn't matter either way. There's opportunities in both, and I just find that ironic with, the headlines that we see today and the panic, hitting the market right now. That was something I just took to heart, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. To where I'm not really doing my job, and I haven't educated myself if I'm not making money when the market's going down as it is today.
Well, what you're doing is by leading a networking organization is something that I've been advising people to do for a long, long time now. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which came out 12 years ago, I was recommending people join or build a network marketing business. And the reason you're in a great position today is because, I think GM dropped 31% today. So the idea of a job security for life is really somebody chewing on some mushrooms. It's not reality. So more and more people are coming your way, and the primary reason I recommend it, and the primary reason Kelly is in the franchising business, is because the idea of job security is really a myth. And when guys like Bush, Obama, McCain, they say we're going to bring high-paying jobs back, you've got to be a complete moron to believe them. You've got to be dreaming. There's no way. And the reason for that is jobs always migrate with the lowest priced workers. So even today, jobs are migrating. Jobs moved from America in the 60s to Japan, then to Korea, then to China, and today they're migrating to Vietnam and Pakistan. So if Obama or McCain or Palin or whatever his name is, Biden, say they're going to bring high-paying jobs back, dream on. And so all you have to do is look at the future by looking at what's really going on. It's not that hard to predict the future. You just have to stop believing the stuff that these so-called leaders are telling you. That's 99% of it.
Yeah, and what I've looked a little bit at your videos that you've had on Rich Dad about Bucky Fuller and the books that inspired you that were written by him, and I have to be interested. I can't wait to get a copy of the book. I know you're giving everybody who attends the event in 2 weeks a copy of his book, so I'm holding off on buying it until then. But I'm really interested to learn more about the influence that he had on you and your whole concept when it comes to predicting the future.
Well, I didn't really, Kelly understands Fuller better than I do because his books are really tough to read. But in 1983, I studied with him 3 times in my life. And in 1983, just as he passed away, he published a book called Grunts of Giants. And Grunt stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. In other words, it's how the rich rip everybody else off. And the moment I read that book, I understood it because it's exactly what I saw in Vietnam. It's exactly what my rich dad was always telling me. And so today, when you see, Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. saying, we're here to save you with a bailout, I mean, you've got to be completely naive to believe them. These guys are part of the conspiracy that rips off everybody else. The same as Clinton, So, if you really believe the politicians are going to save you, oh my God, I'll pray for you tonight. So, I mean, our jobs, and what you're doing, Mike, and what Kelly and I are doing, and what all your staff is doing, and I thank John Cipher for setting this up, is your job is really to not only wake people up, but show them another way. The idea of my parents, who were part of the last Depression, go to school and get a safe, secure job. You can if you move to Vietnam. But they're only going to pay you 10 cents an hour.
Yeah, that's the other criteria. As long as you're willing to work for $2 a day, you're okay.
Yeah. And eat rice.
Well, is there anything that either of you would like to share or shed some light on with the bailout and what's really going on? Because unfortunately, I think for the majority of the people on this call, even if they're eager to learn the truth is pretty difficult to find these days unless they're talking to someone like you, because all they get is the spoon-fed media, on CNN and CNBC, and I don't really know if America understands what the bailout is going to do, not even in this month, but over the next couple of years. And that's something that you refer to in the prophecy coming up. But what are the consequences that you see for what's happening right now?
I'll let Kelly talk about that for a little while.
Okay, well...
Kelly and I have been friends for 20 years, and that's all he and I have talked about for 20 years, that this was coming.
And for me, just to give it a little bit of background, Robert and I have been studying over the last 3 months from various books about what other people are saying, what's going on. And as we study those books, the most amazing things are starting to happen is people that have written books 10 years ago or 20 years ago were actually able to forecast almost what's happening today, almost to the word of what's happening today.
Well, word for word.
Word for word, and it's like when you see this, like to me, I do read a lot of Dr. Buckminster Fuller. I read a lot of his books and never really understood them until the last 3 months, because the sort of thing that he talked about is what's going on right now.
If I could read something to you from our President Bush, he says, this legislation will safeguard and stabilize America's financial system and put in place permanent reforms so these problems will never happen again. Moreover, it says to millions of depositors, you will not be the victim of others' mistakes. We will see, I guarantee, that your deposits are secure. But that was President H.W. Bush in 1989. And then, so this is in 2008, President George W. Bush, George Jr. says, Congress must act. We are facing a choice between action and the real prospect of financial hardship for millions. Now, I thought his father, the first Bush, promised these problems would never happen again. So what Kelly is really saying is the reason we knew this was going to happen, it has happened throughout history. It has happened for thousands of years. And people are stupid enough to believe they're politicians.
And it's the willingness to observe what Robert just read, and then say to yourself, well, what does that really mean? And studying Fuller, what it really